sane person who has understood the philosophy of life and death is very upset when hearing of the horrible hellish conditions of life in the womb of the mother or outside of the mother. But one has to make a solution to the problems of life. A sane person should understand the miserable condition of this material body. Without being unnecessarily upset, he should try to find out if there is a remedy. The remedial measures can be understood when one associates persons who are liberated. It must be understood who is actually liberated. Liberated person is described in Bhagavad Gita. One who engages in uninterrupted devotion service to the Lord, having surpassed the stringent laws of material nature, is understood to be situated in Brahman. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is beyond the material creation. It is admitted even by impersonalists like Shankaracharya that Narayana is transcendental to this material creation. As such, when one actually engages in the service of the Lord in various forms, either Narayana or Radha Krishna or Sitarama, he is understood to be in the platform of liberation. The Bhagavatam also confirms the liberation, that liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position. Since a living entity is eternally servitor of the Supreme Lord, when one seriously and sincerely engages in the loving service of the Lord, he is situated in the position of liberation. One should try to associate with a liberated person, and then the problems of life, namely birth and death, will be solved. While discharging devotion service in full Krishna consciousness, one should not be miserly. He should not unnecessarily show that he has renounced this world. Actually, renunciation is not possible. If one renounces his palatial building and goes to a forest, there is actually no renunciation. For the palatial building is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the forest is also the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he changes from one property to another, that does not mean that he renounces. He is never the proprietor of either the palace nor the forest. Renunciation necessitates renouncing the false understanding that one can lord it over material nature. When one renounces this false attitude and renounces the puffed up position that he is also God, that is real renunciation. Otherwise, there is no meaning of renunciation. Rupa Goswami advises that if one renounces anything which could be applied in service of the Lord and does not use it for that purpose, that is called Falgu Vairagya, insufficient or false renunciation. Everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, everything can be engaged in the service of the Lord. Nothing should be used for one's sense gratification. That is a real renunciation. Nor should one unnecessarily increase the necessities of the body. We should be satisfied with whatever is offered and supplied by Krishna without much personal endeavor. We should spend our time executing devotion service in Krishna consciousness. That is a solution to the problems of life and death. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So, after describing the fearful situation of death, Lord Kapila have specific instructions for the entire humanity. He says that once one understands the truth of the self as a spirit in this body, which transmigrates from one life to another, Jiva Gatim, the movement of the true nature of the living entity, the movement, how the living entity moves from one body to another, knowing that one should not unnecessarily fear by identifying oneself with the body. Identifying oneself with the body is the very cause of fear of death. Because otherwise, existence of the soul is eternal. Soul does not know death. It is eternal. I means the soul. I am eternal. But if we think I is equal to body, then when body dies, body deteriorates, body loses the power to see, loses the power to hear everything, then one will feel that one's existence is ended. So if at all the living entity has got the experience of death, it is only in this manner, grounded on some illusion. Therefore, death is not a reality at all. Experience of death is only in the experience. It's not a reality. Body malfunctioning, no longer functioning is a reality. Converting that into a death experience, as if life is ended, is simply an illusion. Therefore, Lord Kapila is saying, don't look upon death with horror. Don't look upon death with horror. Therefore, one should not view death with horror, nor have recourse to defining the body as the soul. Next, nor give way to exaggeration in enjoying the bodily necessities of life. Though we are not this body, being trapped in this bodily identification due to our karma, and the body is designed for the living entity to be in bodily concept of life. Krishna's creation of this body is meant for a facility for a living entity. What is that facility? Facility of independent life. So that is the purpose of Krishna giving this body. So this body has been designed for a purpose. Having been designed for a purpose, there are different bodily necessities. You have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to manage the reproductive energy. It is in the creation. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. You have to protect your existence because you think you are independent. So the body has to protect its own existence. So there is defending. So these are bodily necessities: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. The bodily necessities. Now here he is saying that nor give way to exaggeration in enjoying the bodily necessities of life. There is no prohibition in enjoying in the course of meeting the bodily necessities of life. For instance, you have to eat. So if you eat, the system is created in such a way that the brain will ask, where is breakfast, where is lunch, where is dinner? Brain will ask, it's designed like that. Why the brain asks? Because it is connected to pleasure, taste also. So, relishing taste is very much required for existence. Wherever things are required for existence and survival of the living entity, in all those places, some sense enjoyment is planted. By the creation of the Lord. So that sense enjoyment, as much as is required for the bodily necessities, if one accepts, it is not sin. Rather, it is required. The Mayavadi philosophy says that a day has to come when you should not eat anything. The Vaishnavas say minimize the demand. Vaishnavas don't say your perfection of life is when you eat zero. There's a graph. Go on decreasing, eating, make it zero. Then you are perfect. No eating, sleeping, mating, defending, zero. But we understand that these are all arrangements of the Lord. As long as the soul and body have to be together in a system, it needs all these things. Eating anything excess or giving enjoyment excess to what is required turns out to be sin. Enjoying, eating, sleeping, mating, ending, defending to the extent to which it is required as a bodily necessity, it is not considered to be sin. It is not considered to be lacking in Krishna consciousness in any manner. The super soul is seated in the heart and he expects. In fact, Prabhupada says that the yogis they torture the body. And torture the body, they give even the super soul is not pleased. That is not there is a purpose for this body. Utilize that purpose and then get renounced with what is not required at all for this bodily functioning. So this is the Vaishnava's lifestyle. This is his philosophy of life with respect to enjoyment. For enjoyment is not a factor at all. Meeting the bodily necessities is a factor for a Vaishnava. But it so happens that enjoyment is planted there as per laws of material nature. Therefore, we find ways and means to take that as prasadam, that enjoyment as prasadam. You just see. I eat anything, I will taste. Tongue will taste. It is created. Prasadam or not prasadam, it will taste. So now how to convert that into Krishna consciousness? I don't want sense gratification at all. I don't want any sense gratification of this body. That is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. But then I have to eat. If I eat, yes. Krishna has made an arrangement. You take prasadam. That is the reason why even taking prasadam, in the name of prasadam, you cannot go on eating. You understood? You cannot go on eating. This prasadam I can go on eating. Because then what will happen? The tongue and brain all will start enjoying for the sake of enjoying. Suppose if you don't have taste, you will not have appetite, then you don't eat. Then your body becomes weak. So therefore you have to taste and eat. So therefore, yes, I will taste and eat Krishna Prasadam. The same way everything, all the activities that we do in Krishna consciousness is we dovetail it in Krishna's service. The whole day we are engaging in Krishna's service. We are thinking about Krishna's work. You will dream about it. When you are lying, when you are sleeping, you are giving rest to the brain. It keeps reorganizing everything. So many activities happen. Sleeping is not an inactive state. Sleeping is not an inactive state. That is why something happens. When you wake up, you are fresh. When you are about to sleep, you are very tired. When you wake up, you are fresh. That means in this gap, something has happened. Is it not? So if waking hours we are fully immersed in Krishna consciousness, immersed in Krishna conscious desires and execution and thoughts of Krishna, thoughts of the spiritual master, thoughts of the Vaishnava relationship, then only those things, our chitta in the night also will be fully immersed in that. So our sleeping is also becomes like devotional service. A karmi, when he sleeps, he dreams of so many things. We also dream. Our dream is based on the vocabulary of our Vaishnava life. Their dream is based on their material desires and this. That means that sleeping also, they are sleeping for sense gratification. Now this is anyway, if you don't sleep, you won't feel fresh. You have to sleep. But again, Prabhupada says you sleep minimum. Not that after you wake up also you are thinking of the dream, going into the dream, what happened. As soon as you wake up, switch off. Ho gaya. Minimum required. If you continue that, then you are never fresh. Then it will pull you to sleep more and more and more. So as soon as one wakes up, that is the end. No more sleep state consciousness. Even if it is good dreams. Sometimes you have good dreams. What is good dreams? In dream you have got good rasa. That's called good dream. You should cut off from sleep state. Or if somebody is waking you up, you are not awake also, but you are in the midst of that rasa. Wait, don't call me now. Don't wake me up now. So eating, sleeping, mating. If you take eating, sleeping, every day we require. Mating, as per nature's law, you don't need. It's not a everyday troubling thing. You should know that. Eating, sleeping, every day we have to deal with it. And there's a way to spiritualize it. This force of reproduction is not something which is every day acting on the body. It is seasonal. Because reproduction is like that. So you have to handle that. If you want to handle it for the purpose for which that urge is coming, that is grahastha life, then you have to have children, and just for procreation you engage in sex life. Nothing that is prescribed in the Shastra is impractical. If at all we find if it is impractical, just like Prabhupada also says, if you want to have children, then once a month you can have Garbhadana done once a month till you get a progeny. After that, no, till you want one more progeny. What does all that simply mean? It simply means that, especially in the modern age, the need for sex is 90% concocted and not a real, genuine bodily requirement. Too much concoction in the mind one has created and has made a very big issue about this sex. We are all products of that culture. Our modern culture, modern education system is planted that in our heads, that we think that is more important than even eating and sleeping. How much importance you give, how much value you give to it, the society has taught us. Now, but when we come to Krishna consciousness, yes, there is a necessity, it is one of the bodies, it's a reality. But the Shastras are saying, if you are a brahmachari, this is the way to handle it. If you are a grahastha, this is the way to handle it. If you are a vanaprastha, this is the way to handle. Means handle opposite, association of opposite sex. If you are a sannyasi, this is the way to handle it. So formulas have been given for us. Everybody is given a safe boat to handle mating, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, self-protection. Basically, when it comes to Vaishnava, being a Vaishnava, he does not care for self-protection. But suppose he is not in the role as a Brahmana, then he may need some self-protection. Just like we tell our congregation, okay, you are not in the temple, you are not in the situation of a Brahmanical life of simply, depending on Krishna for one's existence, husband, wife, children, everybody. Okay, you're outside, you have your own normal required level of defending. Defending means, basically in the modern world, defending means money. Fixed deposit, security, pension, gratuity, these are all comes under defending. So that also a Vaishnava has got direction. How much, what to do, how much a grahastha, what kind of grahastha he is, how much he has to put his energy towards the bodily necessity called defending. And that is different for different devotees, different for different ashramas, different varnas, it is different. But all those things can be very scientifically provided. That is why it is one requires guidance from the scriptures how to handle all these things. In the midst of talking about the highest philosophy of existence, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna even spends time in telling what he should eat and how he should sleep. Why? Because it is very important. So wrong understanding of denying the demands that are required for the need of life can take one away from Vaishnavism. Our goal is to serve the Lord. Our goal is not to show my ability to renounce. One should not take pride in renouncing. Because Prabhupada is explaining, here renouncing itself is an illusion. You renounce a palatial building and go to the forest. What have you renounced? Gone from one room to another room. Prabhupada is saying, gone from one room to another room. You cannot renounce at all, because wherever you go, you have to depend on the Lord's property. Because you yourself are Lord's property. So you cannot escape from yourself also, because you belong to God. So this idea of renunciation is, real renunciation is proper utilization of everything that comes at our command in service of the Lord. That is real renunciation. Nothing is bad, because everything is coming from God. Misusing is bad. Using things wrongly is bad. So therefore, Prabhupada, taught us in this Krishna consciousness movement, there's nothing that anything can be excluded from the service of the Lord. As long as the lauding attitude is not there, serving attitude is there, he can embrace everything in existence in service of the Lord. So universal, so beautiful this philosophy of Krishna consciousness is. It is all inclusive. There is no exclusion of anything. There is only exclusion of misapplication. There is no exclusion of anything. So many things are there in existence. Misuse of those things we exclude. But the thing itself we don't exclude. Whether it is money, women, name, fame, whatever it is, because everything is meant for the pleasure of the Lord. So Vaishnava is always moving around with this, as here Lord Kapila is saying. He moves around this world. One should move about in the world free from attachment and steadfast in purpose. What is the purpose? The purpose is Krishna consciousness, liberation from this material world. We mean liberation in a different. Liberation means going back to Godhead, re-establishing ourselves at the lotus feet of the Lord, re-establishing ourselves as a servant of the Lord. Awakening our consciousness that the Lord is everywhere and in everything and is everything as His energy. There is nothing other than Krishna everywhere, in everything. And why everything behaves in different way, it is due to His will. His scheme of things. Material world also, His scheme of things. So, to come to that state of consciousness is a purpose of life. And that is what, whether it is Kapila's teachings or whether it is Prahlad's teachings, all the essence is this, to become always conscious that we are part and parcel of Krishna. There is no question of we separating from Krishna. Only in illusion we can separate, like the karmis, they are separated from Krishna. In illusion. But they are also not separated from Krishna, because their thinking, feeling, willing, everything is made possible because of the presence of the Lord in their heart. Without the Lord facilitating this journey in this material world, it is impossible. The spirit soul cannot see material forms, cannot see material, cannot taste material tastes, cannot hear one sound, the spirit soul by itself, one material sound. It is only by the super soul's intervention that we are able to hear, sense, smell, taste, all those things in this material world. Devotee or non-devotee. So death is an illusion, renunciation is an illusion. Illusion means it's only in the mind. Because you cannot renounce any yoga, you cannot disconnect yourself from existence. You are part and parcel of God. You are parcel of God, there is no question of separation. Only in illusion I think I am separate. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, you were mentioning about dovetailing in the service of the Lord. So it is easy to understand the concept of dovetailing money or any other thing. But what are the examples of, or how can devotees deal with name or fame, or what are the nitty-gritties, or how do we dovetail that in the service of the Lord? Can you elaborate a little bit?
First principle of dovetailing is we need to know how much. If it is money, how much money is needed. Same principle. I have to eat to live. How much prasadam I should take? The first thing of dovetailing is how much. Cannot have atyahara, even if it is for prasadam. More than needed should not be there. So that is number one principle. How much is needed? Second principle of dovetailing is, in the process of dovetailing, there has to be a level of constantly strive for purity of dovetailing. Purity of dovetailing means keeping the focus of the pleasure of the Lord and not pleasure from dovetailing. No doubt, we all have lauding tendency. So when we laud for the Lord, some rasa is there. But eventually you laud for the Lord, laud for the Lord, laud for the Lord, and then your lauding will turn into serving the Lord. Even though externally somebody may be seeing that you are lauding, that you have got so much power and there are so many things you are moving around and everything, but still that time your consciousness has changed to serving. That means initially our controlling tendency we may use, but we have to observe and become purified, and we also not only simply going on doing that, we have to have reflection, chanting, hearing, all those things that happens. The sadhana that is happening will actually purify our service, and so that we can convert. Slowly our lauding tendency will go on decreasing. But the work that we do will be the same productivity or even more. In lauding, what happens? When you fail, you become morose. When you succeed, you get elated. In a yogic way of lauding or dovetailing, you see the results come or doesn't come. First, my primary rasa is in having got an opportunity to serve the Lord. That is counted. Today I am able to go out morning to evening. When you lie down on the bed, you think, I have been able to serve the Lord. Count that. People don't count that. People only count, okay, today no collection came. Our collection did not come. I'm not saying you should be insensitive to it. But primary should be, I have done my duty. And in the process, at the end of taking satisfaction in having done the duty, being blessed to do devotion service whole day, along with that you take, okay, so many nice results happened today. Or nothing happened today. Feel little sad, no problem. But that cannot be the primary thing that oscillates your consciousness. So there is a purity of dovetailing. Quantity, because mind, anything when it comes to money, mind, you let it go, boo, money, it will say. No end if you leave it to the mind, even if it is for dovetailing. But you should know what is, that's all, what is required. So with these two things, if we are very careful, then we can dovetail. Dovetail it to our advantage for removing our anartha and pleasing the Supreme Lord. To maintain or to constantly remind us about self-purification, that is the reason why sadhana and service have to combine together. If you don't combine together, then what will happen is, it will go on feeding the lauding. And we don't have, if you go on feeding the lauding, you are feeding your anartha. So some indirect benefit of devotion service the person will get. But ultimately, anybody can observe, especially if he is not chanting. You can count the number of days, because it will only feed the anartha more and more. And when it comes to the association of Vaishnavas, in a Vaishnava society, up to some level anarthas and all can be fed. But this is not a place to feed anarthas of name and fame and all these things. It is not a place to feed. For instance, even now come to the example of money, you said. Now come to the example of name and fame. In the society, any position is having a name, having a rasa, in the eyes of the karmis at least. Right? So that we have to do that role play very carefully, without thinking that is my core personality. If you are a temple president, then, when you deal with the world outside, you have to have a role play as a temple president. If you say, now I am going to be humbler than a blade of grass, that is your inner mood. That is your core personality, humbler than a blade of grass. You cannot do your service if you are, in the meaning of the people of the outside world, if you are humble. You cannot do. Right? Suppose construction work is going on, you have to direct the people and you have to correct them and to tell them, and then, what kind of sadhu you are. You are not humble. Why are you chastising me? I have never seen even one sadhu in construction activity who is humble. The construction activity means you are dealing with Shudras, no? Shudra quality means shouting. Otherwise you cannot do. They don't understand intelligence. Intelligent reasoning they don't understand. They understand fear. I won't get the salary. I won't get my, wages today if I don't do. So in different things, there are different kinds of role play that is required in this material world, where position, name, all these things are required. So we have to dovetail. Just like the karmis, they only consider they have value only for people who have some value in the society. So when devotees bring somebody to the let us say, a devotee wants to bring a new person to introduce to, let's say, to me, to some festival or something. And there is something that, he is also a person whom has influenced everything in the society. Then the peer devotees will preach. Will preach means they will, before bringing, they'll create a background. Who is Madhu Pandit? Who is our president? This, all these things. This is dovetailing. No, you don't tell anything and you bring. You'll sit like that. Your function you cannot do. I cannot do my function also. Because then they have to be so elevated that only they have to see, okay, they are sadhus and come and go. So just see, everywhere there is dovetailing of role plays and all these things. Ultimately, we should not get contaminated by that. I should not think I am president. I should not think I am brahmachari. It is my role. Am I eternally a brahmachari? So if I think I am a brahmachari, then I'm an illusion. I don't want illusion. So my core personality I should not forget. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. You are not a brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi or anything. Or a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. No. These are all role plays. So as long as you keep something as a role play, and not role play of whom? Role play of the core personality. My core personality is something, my role play personality is situational. I am not. Today I will be this, I will switch over like this. Today I am doing one service, I need one role play. You tell me tomorrow you take another service. In few days I will pick up that role play. I am detached, I am renounced. No, I am this, I cannot do anything else, I am this. Okay. If you switch over, it is possible. Devotee is capable of doing every kind of service. Our founder Acharya has taught us that. He did every kind of service. Cooking, to cleaning, to pujari, to Bhagavatam translation, to giving Bhagavatam class, to management, to fighting enemies. Everything he did as a pure servant of the Lord.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
You are saying that while enjoying, while meeting the bodily necessities, there is enjoyment is given. For example, if I am taking prasadam, so most of the times we feel that I am the enjoyer. So we are trying to imitate Krishna while meeting the necessities of bodily things. So how do we get out of this?
Eat like everybody. Tastefully. But remember, Krishna has given this taste. It's prasadam, no? But because it is prasadam in the material world, correct? It is not prasadam in the spiritual world. Because it's prasadam in the material world, there is a quantity restriction. There is a material aspect of tongue of the body as well as there is a spiritual aspect. So you take this spiritual aspect, but control the, you don't involve your mind too much in the taste. You involve your mind in gratitude to Krishna for giving me taste, giving me energy. Taste feeds the brain. Please understand. Taste feeds the brain. If you taste prasadam nicely, you become free from sex life. Regulated way. Nicely means what? Not the material taste. It will do ulta. The consciousness part of tasting prasadam, if you are absorbed, it will, this, because ultimately sex is what? The energy of the food only, no? Isn't it? So you have eaten pure food. This sex energy will not bother us. So how to honor prasadam nicely? If you honor prasadam nicely, instead of attacking prasadam,
Sometimes we take more quantity, Prabhu, that's fine, that's okay.
Huh?
Quantity, sometimes we take more prasadam quantity, more than...
that is the problem I said. There is a blessing part of prasadam and there is a problem part of prasadam. In the sense that if you are serious about Krishna consciousness, if you are not serious about Krishna consciousness, fill yourself, because anyway you do not know whether you are going to do tomorrow devotion service or not. Eat as much prasadam as possible. That much is to your credit. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय.